This time we'll call the monthly board meeting of the Shellrock River Watershed to order. Roll call.
Manager Pasuski,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Here.
Manager Pistorius,
Here.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Delger,
Here.
Manager Bakken.
Here. With forum, I guess we're not gonna have that. Here. Consent agenda. Take a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion or changes?
Mr. Chair, there will not be any additions or corrections on staff's behalf.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of agenda. Again, take a motion.
Already just did that one, I think.
Oh,
We did. Okay.
So moved. Second. Any discussion or changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First update I have for you, just an update on MOD. MOD is the association for all the watershed districts statewide. We had the MOD lobby day a week following our last board meeting. That's where we go through, discuss some of the legislative agenda items for MOD, along with meeting with the other administrators throughout the state. And then the following morning, we had basically a breakfast with the legislators. So I believe Leah attended for us. I was on spring break. I'm sure Leah doesn't want to give an update, but maybe Leah, if you could just sort of talk about who you met with from.
Sure. At the MOD event, I met with Peggy Bennett, and she was very receptive to the Fountain Lake Restoration Project and our bonding request. The next morning, I met with Senator Gene Dornick, and again, he was excited for our project and familiar with it, and he has our back. So it was a good meeting for both days, and everyone seems to be familiar with our project up at the Capitol and excited to move it forward.
Thanks, Leah. So that was the update on the MOD event. Next is the legislative update. Again, we sort of just touched on the legislative update with the MOD lobby day. But also last week, Mick, Belger, Dan DeBoer, and myself went up to the Capitol. We met with Judy up there. And we also talked to some key players on the bonding committee, as well as met with both Bennett and Senator Dornick. Those meetings went well, I thought. Mick and Dan, I don't know if you guys want to maybe say a few words about how you felt that it went. You know, we also met with Dean Erdahl, who is one of the key pieces to the bonding committee, as well as some other representatives and senators up there. So maybe.
I thought it went really well. Also, everybody seemed aware, very supportive of it. Same kind of lingo through the whole thing, is like they're aware and supportive and know that it's needs to be done. So what?
That's kind of the feeling I got too. They all of them kind of were saying that they couldn't believe it didn't pass last time. But you know, they're all saying that it looks really good, but until that day, they won't know. But sounded good.
Yeah,
That's
so
keep the information. I'll keep it in everybody's mind.
yep, definitely keep them updated on how things are going. No, we did update a few of them. They weren't aware of the increase from the 7.5 to the 8.4 with the inflationary numbers. So we, got them updated on that. Sent them some new literature regarding that increase. But yeah, again, overall, I thought Again, it went very well. Again, it's amazing how many of them out there already know about our project. Are pretty excited with what they've seen so far with the project we've already done and the upcoming project. So that went really good. Any other questions on the legislative? You do have a little handout from Judy. They're on break right now for Passover and Easter. But again, this just sort of lays out the next few steps that we'll see up there and what we're pushing, not only for the Fountain Lake, but for the Lasar Sam's Outdoor Heritage funding. If you remember there, we do have about 1.43 million in that. So we're hoping that that will also get passed. So the last item for you is just to give you some updates on some land rentals and lease agreements. We did purchase 2 pieces of property last year. We purchased the Olson property in Bancroft Township. We also purchased the Belshon property. Because we're not ready to do the restoration work on those and probably won't be doing that until either late fall or 2023. It helps us with maintenance and weed control if we just lease those back out and we'll allow them to be farmed for 1 more year. That money, if you remember, has to go back into the project because we purchased that money or that land with LSOHC funds. But just to give you a little update, the Belshon piece was roughly 53 acres. That had a CER rating of 78, and we rented that out at $275 an acre. The Bancroft property was 79 acres tillable. It has a CER rating of 61, a lot of gravel. There's actually an old gravel pit out there. And we received $200 per acre for that. So that is the land lease agreements that we do have in place. Both of them, I believe, have been signed with those tenants. The next one is the gravel lease. We've already approved the gravel lease, but that will be going out this week. That is the 4.61 acres we own over by the Headwaters property that the house was on. That property, if you remember when we purchased the Headwaters, that parcel was donated to the district by the landowner. There is quite a large sum of gravel underneath that. We do have, I believe there's 21 borings that were done on the site. So we have that information for whatever company wants to lease it or put in a request for bid for that lease. So you'll probably look at the paper. That'll probably be in the paper, if not this late this week, next week. Again, that sort of gets back to the issue of having a local paper to print stuff in. Our paper now only prints 3 days a week or 2 days a week.
Wednesday and the weekend.
And then the weekend. So it's really hard to get notices in because our timelines have now increased from when we have to get the notice in to when the notice might appear. So it doesn't hurt for regular meetings, but if we have special meetings and stuff, it's hard to meet those deadlines. So me and Steph have been looking at alternate ways to still meet state statute with that notice requirements. So other than that, if there's no other questions from the managers, I will turn it back over.
Question for you. Our buildings, did all the buildings in this site go?
So all of the buildings are down except for the house and the one garage, but they have until July 30th to take the garage down. Nobody bid on the house. So that's part of the lease agreement with the gravel is whoever gets that lease would have to tear that down. We also put it in there where they have to, whatever trees, they'd have to take trees down, that they're responsible for all that. I do believe, and this might be something that's negotiable through the lease, but we did ask, and maybe we shouldn't have, but we thought for any larger stone, basically riprap type 2 or larger, that the district keep if they're amenable to that, because we can use that for a bunch of our projects because it's natural field stone for riprap. So we'll see if we get any feedback on that as well. Also in the agreement, they also have to abandon the well and abandon the on-site sewer. So that's also in the lease agreement. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I have one item, which is resolution 2022-04, which is an MPCA proposal submission approval. This application work plan might look familiar. We use the same type of funding loan as to complete our remaining of our dredging project. How this came to be is the city of Albert Lee, Steve Yockey came to us in support of helping them purchase their street sweeper and vacuum equipment. This is something that the district has done recently, or in previous years, we helped fund them through our cost share program. And, you know, being that our cost share program is reduced this year, we're looking at different alternatives for funding and helping the city be able to accomplish funding these or upgrades in equipment. So if you look at the budget, it does say that it's $610,000, and this is for upgrading 3 different pieces of equipment that the city of Albert Lee is requesting. The district is not going to be paying all of that. Andy and Steve have done preliminary negotiations, and the district is looking at potentially spending $250,000 towards this out of the 610. We will be entering into an agreement with the city of Albert Lee following if this is approved to work out those details. So right now, this is just the application for the Shell Rock and the city of Albert Lee jointly to get the loan to be able to purchase that equipment. And then if that is successful, then we will work on the agreements of paying it back. So there's a first and a second. I will read the resolution and then we can enter into discussion if needed.
With that motion.
Resolution 2022-04 MPCA proposal submission approval. Whereas the Shell Rock River Watershed District, the district will be submitting a proposal to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to conduct the following project: City of Albert Lee street cleaning equipment purchase. Whereas the district will enter an agreement with the city of Albert Lee in regards to the repayment of the loan. Whereas Andy Henschel, district administrator, be authorized to submit a proposal for the above mentioned project and shall have the authority to represent the district in all matters that do not specifically require action from this body. Whereas the submittal of the proposal does not obligate the district to accept a grant and or a loan if so offered. Therefore, be it resolved that 1, Andy Henschel, district administrator, is authorized to submit a proposal to the MPCA and is the authorized representative for the district, dated April 12th, 2022.
Any other discussion?
I have a little bit, I guess. I'd rather use the word grant than loan. As far as what we do in the future here. If we can get some grants to help the city, I think that'd be great, but I don't know if, you know, we've done this for what, 15, 16 years or something now?
For the street sweeper and
Yeah.
stuff? Correct, we have. So in the past, we purchased or assisted them in purchasing the street sweeper. We also purchased the leaf vacuum and trailer components. And we purchased that in whole. We purchased all that for them. That was early on in the sales tax years. Since then, we've helped them with a certain portion, whether it be sometimes it's 30%, sometimes it's 40% for some of their new street sweepers. Remember, originally we just went with the mechanical brush sweeper. Now they got the Gen Air or the air type sweepers. They like to keep one of each of them just because they work better in different situations. And then in the fall, you know, they use the leaf vac and get all the leaves along the curb is the word I'm looking for. So we have done this in the past. One thing that the district has looked at through many different studies that have been done in watershed districts throughout the state is the large benefit of phosphorus removal that we get from street sweeping. It's actually probably one of the most significant, or if you look at pounds per acre versus money spent, it probably has the best ratio of removing a large number of pounds for cost effectiveness. So
To add to that, I would like to point out, the city of Alberta has been doing kind of analysis on the cubic yards of what they could complete each year. And their annual average is roughly 5,690 pounds of phosphorus per year that they're removing from the street systems as a result of using the vacuum truck and sweeper. So
the other thing to note, Al, is, this is a loan program. This helps them and helps the district purchase this equipment. Again, payback is over a nice length of time. What makes this nice for the district is right now the city would like us to look at about a 50% match. So we'd be looking at about 305,000. I have not guaranteed them that. I figured we'd be right at about the 250,000 because that is similar to what we've done in the past. When you look at all three pieces of equipment, not just one street sweeper. The other nice thing about this is, we are in the midst of finalizing our One Watershed One plan. And there is some money associated with the One Watershed One plan that we can maybe look at also helping with this. So it's tougher to find grants for this type of equipment, but the SLOW program fits that. And it's possible that the One Watershed One plan will fit that.
So have we been pursuing grants in the last few months, or are we gonna have a 6-month window here to pursue grants before we go ahead with the loan and purchase? Or equipment is 6 months to a year or a year and a half out, I think, then you start ordering things.
Yeah, so with that being said, yes, I agree. I mean, grants are out of ways, equipment is out of ways. I think, I don't remember right offhand what Steve said about equipment, but what they would be looking at doing, if this is proposed, is they would be looking at purchasing the street sweeper yet this year. And the other two pieces of equipment wouldn't be purchased until the following year, possibly the year after that. They did have a time frame. What I told Steve that we were going to work on is we're going to put them all in this as one project, because if we're going to go after these 0% loan dollars, let's just do it all at one instead of doing one every year for different pieces of equipment. So that's what I know. Courtney, you got?
yeah, so it was there was gonna be an updating of one sweeper in 2022, and then updating their second sweeper and the lead vacuum truck in 2024. But remember, it's 0 interest. So to be able to, get that secured now, it's not like you're gonna be paying interest on those funds over those years.
Yeah, and the other key thing is we don't know how much longer that's going to stay 0 interest. They did talk about potentially increasing that as we move forward.
Does this influence the amount we may have to borrow for more dredging? Does it come into play there at all?
Not really, just because the outlook on this, it's a smaller, quite a bit of smaller request. And if we do get, funding through the One Watershed One plan, we can pay this off early with no repercussions. So I don't see it as an issue for future requests from BCA.
I guess I'm going to support it, but I'd like to see a window here for grants that we try to go for the grants first if we can.
And I will point out, as Andy mentioned, it's hard to find grants that fit this.
No.
A lot of our grants are restoration activities, and it's hard to just have a grant that purchases equipment.
But it's in the resolution, grant, the word grants.
Now I got a lot. Oh, it says, yeah.
Don't give me up.
Except a grant, and or a loan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Any other discussion?
I think it's a direct elimination of point source pollution that's easily done. And it's pretty important. So however we do it, I would support it.
And the one thing I do see maybe in the future is actually more of this, and actually maybe increasing the length of time that the sweeper is out and sweeping, because it is such a good point source. And we've just spent 17 million on dredging the lake. We want to make sure we keep it in the best shape we can. And if that means the few extra dollars for street sweeping, I think would be a good benefit for the district.
Any other discussion? We gotta call the roll.
Manager Pastuski,
Aye.
Manager DeBoer,
Aye.
Manager Pistorius,
Aye.
Manager Hanson,
Aye.
Manager Delger,
Aye.
Manager Bakken.
Aye.
Managers, items, or any-
I did go to the city council meeting last night, and the only questions that they had were how the bonding was coming, where they standing, how they felt. Basically, only questions.
Only, we're protecting the dredge material.
CDF, yep.
Evidently, the water's down.
Mhm.
Any thought process of thinking like long reach hole, pulling some of that out?
There is, matter of fact, I talked with Ramball, our engineer, last week. Because we're getting ready to bring another dredge cut tentative outlook to you guys here shortly. I think we're almost done with basically the design phase of phase 3. So we did talk a little bit again about CDF proposals for phase 3 work. So that is probably the strongest basis we have, is to reuse cell 1 and potentially have a contract with somebody to go in there, dig some of it out, stockpile that to the north or to the southwest side of the property we own, and get the quantity we need to finish phase 3. So we are just starting that. Again, I'm not spending a lot of money on that until we find out what the bonding comes through, just because we don't have a lot of extra cash on hand right this minute. So yeah, we're looking at it. It's been talked about, and we'll continue to look at it, but we're not going to put a lot of engineering or design in it yet until we find out where the bonding comes from, where the money comes through.
Yeah, Courtney and I went to the county commissioners meeting last week, I think Tuesday, and they had somebody from the DNR there that talked about lake improvement districts. And to me, it didn't seem to be going anywhere, since the property owners around the lake have to participate and cough up some cash, and that's the same discussions we've had before with the city owned a lot of the property along there. Plus, they would be, and we already have a permit to dredge the third phase. So I don't know how you do anything. That just didn't seem to fit to me anyway. Anyway, they discussed it, listened to a presentation.
What did they propose that involved?
What it would involve?
Yes.
Well, getting the property owners to agree to, set up another district or whatever.
For
Improvement district. I don't know. That was a question. I don't know for.
So one of the county commissioners asked the DNR to come to speak on behalf of what lake improvement districts are, what they all entail. They mentioned that they wanted to try and help secure funding for phase 3 of the dredging project, and that could have been maybe one way to do so. Lake improvement districts have a time and a place, maybe in areas that don't have watershed districts that don't have taxing authority. It was basically discovered that because we have an active watershed district that is pursuing the same projects, a lake improvement district wouldn't be needed in this case. And so it was kind of left at that the watershed district would be the ones who would implement these projects, because the lake improvement districts would it would be a duplicate governmental body, which is needed.
tentacles.
Well, and then there's also, who the cost to complete phase 3 dredging, if put on the landowners around the lake, would just be astronomical, and it doesn't make sense.
That's not what we're all about.
So I think it was just more of an educational thing
Yeah.
that one of the county commissioners wanted to hear about.
Danger. Will Robinson.
The reason I brought up is because we're in a drought. And you're in a situation where you could reclaim some of that.
Can you use it for anything?
Well, if you remember, for those that were on the board way back when we first looked at this, we sent quite a bit of material from the lake bottom that we actually probed down and collected. We sent it to the University of Minnesota to see if it could be used as a agricultural soil amendment. And then it wasn't the value in nutrients there. I mean, the nutrients are there, but not in the quantity that what a farmer would need for a field.
Okay.
Now, if you took large quantities of it and put it out there over time, a foot deep, then there probably would be a benefit. But
Fill in those wetlands.
So the sand portion of it. I mean, you pulled some of this out of there, right?
Yeah, so we do have portions of each of the CDFs that do have a large sand content. Some areas are pretty much all sand, 28 feet down and stacked probably about 25, 30 feet tall because sand stacks really nice. So we do have some of that out there. The plan has been to take, I've had one contractor look at it. The plan is to get another contractor out there to see if it is or would be a benefit for some type of a gravel use or a sand use for them. So that could also be an option for sure in cell 3, but potentially in cell 2 and 1 as well.
Just seems like it's the right time to do it.
Yep.
And
Just for Phil, you want it on non-organic.
Well, it's pretty clean as it goes through
It is.
the dredge, so.
Already washed.
Yeah, yeah.
One more comment, if I could. The appointments for the county for our board is up in July again, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know what's gonna happen, but I would like to see maybe a workshop, something after the appointments or whatever, to look at dredging, the kind of long-term plan of the watershed district a little bit. I know we're involved with cells 1, was it 1, 2, and 3 on litigation, so I'd like to, if there's new board members or bring the old ones up to speed or whatever. I'm thinking July unless somebody's got a better idea. So.
who is up for?
I knew you were gonna ask me that. As soon as I brought the question, I was like, I'm not sure what we can find out and get that out at the next meeting. It's sitting right at my desk, but.
All right. Next meeting is May 10th. Anything else? We'll adjourn. And then when you're offline,
Well.